Peace, peace, we back. Welcome back to another episode of Rational Lens Podcast, where truth and logic comes into focus. And when I talk about your lens, I'm talking about your third eye, bringing it back into focus. And I'm your host for this journey of information, Rock Barzini, aka Minkefera. Today is a good day. We're going to be talking about the Jesuit order, and we're going to be talking about the crypto Jews, which is a good topic that I put together, a good lesson that I put together, because I want to show the people that the Roman Catholic Church, which created the Jesuit order, which is a spiritual military organization that was put together by the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope and the Black Pope, because it's the Black Pope that's ahead of the Jesuit order. You understand? And we know that there's three popes. You have the white pope that you see on TV that represents the church. And behind him, you have the black pope, which is in control of the spiritual military, which we call the Jesuit order, right? And then you have the gray pope. The gray pope is who we call Pepe Orsini. And Pepe Orsini is part of the black nobility. And the black nobility is the group of European royal families who are integrated from blood and family and business, you understand, that have been running the world for a real long time. They're called the black nobility. You understand? They were black, but eventually this black organization became amalgamated by Caucasians, and eventually they took over the royal seat of your black nobility, who were your Moors. You understand? Because it was the Moors that ran Europe for 700 years. And then later on, your Indo-Germans or your Indo-Europeans came in and amalgamated themselves into the royal seat and the royal bloodline. And those Indo-Europeans eventually were integrated by your crypto Jews, your Sephardim Jews, your Anusim Jews. What's other group of Jews that your Marrano Jews. These were your Moors, your black Jews that integrated into the royal seat themselves. You understand? And they took over Europe for 700 years. But we're going to get into the Pope. We're going to get into the crypto Jews, and we're going to talk about the Nazi regime and how all that is one thing. You understand? Your black nobility is also your Babylonian Brotherhood, which is the Illuminati. They worship Satan, or they worship Saturn, the planet Saturn. You understand? But we're going to get into all that. So, well, the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about your Jews and the Jesuits. And we're going to be pulling from the AI overview first. Before I even start, I got a new book, which is not a new book. It's an old book. It's been around for a long time. And I just got it back. I lost the first copy I had, and I just got it back. The name of the book is called The Great Masonic Secret, The Master Key, written by Michael Talib Mafud El-Bey. Very good book. Get a chance. You want to know about Moorish science and masonry and how it connect and the building of this nation, what we call America. It's a good book to read. So let me get back to the information. So we're going to start off pulling from the AI overview, right? And we're talking about Jews and the Jesuits. And I want to show you the connection between them. So I'm going to read the AI overview, and I'm going to be decoding some things in the article. So it says, The relationship between the Jews and the Jesuits is complicated, marked by both historical tension and modern reconciliation. The Jesuit order found by Ignatius Loyola. So Ignatius Loyola was the one that found the Jesuit order. Like I said, the Jesuit order is a spiritual military Masonic organization that was created by the Roman Catholic Church, and the head of the Jesuits is the Black Pope. So let's go into who the Black Pope is, right? Because y'all need to understand who the Black Pope is. Because we have the White Pope, we have the Black Pope, and we also have the Gray Pope, right? It says, Giulio Andreotti, Black Pope, is the nickname of the Superior General of the Society of Jesus. Black Pope or the Black Pope may also refer to Giulio Andreotti, 1919 to 2013, an Italian political and Prime Minister of Italy who was nicknamed the Black Pope. You understand? The Black Pope is the nickname for the Superior General of the Society of Jesus. So when we talk about the Society of Jesus, right, we're talking about the order, the sacred order of the Society of Jesus. But you notice the title of the Black Pope is called the Superior General. So it tells you in itself that it's a military. You understand? And these people are supposed to be Christian, but they have a military. And the Black Pope is the head of the military. It says the Black Pope or the Black Pope may also refer to Giulio Andreotti, who was around since 1919, 2013, and the Italian political and primary minister of Italy, who was nicknamed the Black Pope. Give me 1 minute. Leave that cat in there. I'm going live and it's making too much noise. Leave him in there. You got food in there. Just leave him in there. You're going to mess my live. All right, I'm back. So he's talking about the Black Pope, right? The name of the Black Pope, Giulio Andreotti, who ruled from 1919 to 2013, an Italian politician and Prime Minister of Italy, who was nicknamed the Black Pope, which we know Italy is in Rome. That's where the Vatican is at, which we know the word Vatican comes from the word vati, the prefix word vati, which means wizard or sorcerer, and can, which means king or chief, somebody of high status. You understand? So a wizard or sorcerer that's of a high status, that's where you get the word Vatican from. And we know Italy is in Rome, tying in with the Roman Empire and the 7 Caesars. You understand? It says Anton Levy, 1930 to 1997, an American author, musician, and occultist, and the founder of the Church of Satan, who was labeled the Black Pope, right? Papa Negro. Do I want to go through all these? I'm not even going to go through all these, right? But Anton Levy, who also started the Satanic Church, started the first Satanic Church and got his charter from President Reagan. He was also known as the Black Pope, you understand? But the Black Pope of Rome, Giulio Andreotti, he's an Italian politician and Prime Minister of Italy who was nicknamed the Black Pope, right? So let's go back. says the relationship between the Jews and the Jesuits is complex, marked by both historical tension and modern reconciliation. The Jesuit order, founded by Ignatius Loyola, initially included members of Jewish ancestry. You hear that? So this is supposed to be a Roman Catholic thing, but the original Jesuit order was Jewish ancestry, right? Who was Ignatius Loyola? He was the one that started the Jesuit order, right? Let's find out who's... Because you can't talk about the Jesuit order without talking about Ignatius Loyola, right? He's the one that started it. Ignatius of Loyola. Ignatius of Loyola, right? Born October 23rd, 1491 to July 31, 1556, venerated as Saint Ignatius of Loyola. They turned him into a saint. That's how powerful this man was. Was a Spaniard Catholic priest and theologian who, with 6 companions, founded the religious order of the Society of Jesus, later on known as the Jesuit order. You understand? So he was a Spaniard, came from Spain. And remember, Spain, Portugal was all part of the Iberian Peninsula, and the Moors that came from the Maghreb, North Africa, they came and they took over and they ruled for 700 years. They were the ones that brought Europe out of its darkness. You understand? So when we talk about the Spaniards eventually were your Christian monarchs. They were your black Christian monarchs. Remember, all these religions started out being controlled by black people. You understand? So Ignatius Loyola was a Spaniard, a Catholic priest and theologian who, with 6 companions, founded the religious order of Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, and became its first superior general. And he was a general too. You understand? So this is military, right? Superior general in Paris in 1541. You understand? Society of Jesus. Let's look up the Society of Jesus, because that's what the name, the Jesuit order, is known as the Society of Jesus. And their symbol is a sun, which goes back to the solar worshiping or the sun worshiping, because we know that the Roman Empire was sun worshippers. They worshiped Mithra. Mithra was a sun deity. You understand? And they also had something called the Invictus Sol, which was a pagan fraternity where they sun worship. You understand? Constantine the Great, who started the Nicene Council, he was a part of the Invictus Sol, which means the invincible sun. You understand? And when you talk about the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, their symbol is a sun with IHS in the center, which symbolizes the solar deities. Isis being the feminine solar deity, Horus, which is the son of Isis and Osiris, Osiris being the masculine solar deity, Isis being the feminine solar deity, and Horus also being the son. You understand? Of these two solar deities. So when we talk about the masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang, positive and negative, you understand? We're talking about the same aspect in different, the same thing in a different aspect. So you have the solar feminine, which is Sophia, wisdom, right? She's the life. And then you have Osiris, the masculine solar aspect. He's the god masculine aspect of the sun. And then you have Heru or Horus, who also is the aspect, which is the son of Isis and Osiris. He also symbolizes the sun. So you have the 3 aspects of the sun. You understand? Which in Christianity eventually became your Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You understand? So when we talk about the Jesuit order, we're talking about the Society of Jesus, which was created by the Roman Empire. And remember, the Roman Empire was a solar worshiping. We're into sun worshiping. This is where you get the Christ thing from. Eventually it was called Basilica, but the sun worshiping, the emperor, and the masculine man was the symbol of the sun who ruled the empire. So when we talk about the Society of Jesus, also known as the Jesuit order or the Jesuits, is a religious order of cleric, regular of pontifical rights for men in the Catholic Church, headquartered in Rome. It was founded in 1540 by Ignatius Loyola and 6 companions with the approval of Pope Paul III. The Society of Jesus is the largest religious order in the Catholic Church and has played a significant role in education, charity, humanitarian acts, and global policies. The Society of Jesus is engaged in evangelization and apostolic ministry in 112 countries. The Jesuit works in the education, research, cultural pursuit. They also conduct retreats, ministers in hospitals and parishes, sponsors direct social and humanitarian work, and promote ecumenical dialogue. The Society of Jesus is concentrated under the patronage of the Madonna della Strata, a title of the Blessed Virgin Mother, or the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is Isis. She's the feminine solar aspect, which is known as Sophia, which is wisdom, and they changed Isis into Mary, the Virgin Mary. This is why the Pope worships the Black Madonna and Jesus. They're getting it from ancient Egypt, which Isis, and Horus, which was the son of Isis. And so they took that model, that solar example of mother and child, and they turned it into the Madonna, which the Pope worshiped the Black Madonna, which is Isis. And we know in the Bible they said Mary was a virgin, or the Immaculate Conception, the clean birth aspect, right? So when we talk about the Madonna della Strata, it's a title of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and it is led by a superior general. The headquarters of the society is General Curia is in Rome. The historic Curia of Ignatius is now part of the Collegio del Gesù, attached to the Church of Jesuit, the Jesuit Mother Church. So it's a church which is based on solar paganist beliefs. This is where you get the Mother, Virgin Mother Mary, and Jesus Christ. It all comes from out of the pagan beliefs of ancient Egypt, which Isis and Horus. And then you had the masculine aspect, which was known as Osiris or Asar. So we can see that the Jesuit order comes from out of your paganist belief system and your pantheon of gods that come from out of that belief system, which is Isis, Horus, and Osiris. So let's keep on. Let's keep on going. We was talking about Ignatius Loyola, who was the Spaniard Catholic priest and theologian, who with 6 companions founded the religion order of the Society of Jesus, which later on became the Church of JESUIT. You understand? Which is based on sun worshiping. Give me one more minute. his cat. Leave him in there. There's food in there and there's water. He's just gonna come out as soon as he leaves and start crying.
I put him in the bathroom.
Oh.
I thought that's where you had him.
No, I'm talking about the one that's up here with him.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's the one that's attached to him, like it's his father. So as soon as he leaves, he's gonna start crying on fucking day. So I'm back, right? So it's all based on solar worshiping or sun worshiping. And I want to show y'all, go a little bit more deeper. So, remember I told y'all, the Roman sun worshiping, which was known as basilica, the word basilica means emperor. So the king of the Roman Empire was the physical manifestation of the sun. The sun is the highest consciousness in the physical realm. So when the king sat on the throne, he took on the physical embodiment of the sun. You understand? And that sun was known as Mithra. Right? This is where you get Jesus being the sun, but it's actually the sun that's over our head. In the zodiac sign or the astrology, we have the 12 houses and they move around the sun. You understand? So this is where they get Jesus, the sun. Not S-O-N, but really S-U-N. You understand? And this is where they get the Christ. You understand? The Christ is the solar consciousness, which is the highest consciousness in the physical realm, the sun. So when we talk about the Romans, it says, the Roman sun worship of Mithra was a secret all-male mystery religious centered on the Persian god Mithra. So it was a all-male mystery religious centered on the Persian god Mithra. So when we talk about the Romans and the Roman Empire, they were more patriarch. They were more masculine. They the one that brought in the phallic worshiping. You understand? And they took over the matriarch, which was the women worshiping. You understand? So you had the masculine sun, you had the feminine sun, Sophia. You understand? She symbolized wisdom. The masculine sun symbolized knowledge. You understand? But the Romans were more patriarch. You understand? And the reason they were more patriarch, because you got to remember, your Indo-Germans, they were patriarch because in their society, they had more men than women. And the reason because of that, because of their warring and fighting and killing each other, they killed the children and the women in these wars that they had amongst each other. You understand? So they had more masculine energy than feminine energy. You understand? So the Roman sun worship of Mithra was a secret all-male mystery religious centered on the Persian god Mithra, who was strongly associated with the sun. Followers, orphan soldiers, orphan soldiers. So this also was a military secret society that was based on the sun, right? Met in underground temples called Mithras or Mithria to perform rituals. So they did their rituals in underground temples called Mithria to perform rituals. This is where they performed their rituals, which included a sacred meal and a depiction of Mithra slaying a bull to create the universe. So Mithra, their god, their sun god that they worship, that they had a sacred meal. This is where the Roman Catholic Church get the Eucharist from, the Eucharist, where they eat the cracker and drink the wine, which is supposed to be the blood of Christ, and the cracker is supposed to be the body of Christ. But it comes from sun worshiping with Mithra. And they used to worship in underground temples called Mithria, right? And they performed these rituals where they had this sacred meal of where they drunk the wine and ate the cracker or the wafer, which is the symbol of the sun. You understand? Mithra is the symbol of the sun. You understand? And Mithra was also the deity that slayed the bull to create the universe. This is part of the mythology of Mithra. He slayed the bull. The bull is the symbol of the sun. Hathor, in ancient Egyptian, she's the solar calf, or the solar bull, the mother with the horns and the solar disc. You understand? Also symbolize the bull also symbolizes Taurus. And Taurus is a star constellation, right? In the zodiac, we have the Taurus, the bull, the symbol of the bull, right? In the zodiac sign, and we also have the star constellation Taurus, where you have the Pleiades star constellation, and the Pleiades star constellation is the seven sisters of Atlas. Or when we go back to the mythology of Atlas, who held the world on his shoulder. Also, when you get the word Atlanteans, or Atlas, or the Atlanteans. Atlas was the symbol of the electromagnetic function that went on in the earth. The axis of the earth is based on electromagnetic function. So when we talk about Atlas, we're talking about the electromagnetic function of the earth. You understand? But it's also tied in with Atlantis. The seven sisters were known as the Atlanteans or the Atlanteas. You understand? They were the seven sisters of Pleiades. But let's get through this. It says the cult ritual and symbolism such as the sacred meal and a birth on December 25th. Christmas, right? December 25th is Christmas. So your Christmas is tied in with Mithra, the sun worshiping, right? Shared similarities with early Christianity, and Mithraism was a significant rival before being suppressed by the 4th century AD. So it says, the worship and belief, the god Mithra, a god of light, truth, and loyalty that originated in ancient Persia and became popular in the Roman Empire. Number 2, the central myth, the most common image of the depiction of Mithra killing a bull in a scene known as Tauroctony, right? This act was believed to create the universe and was central to the cult belief, right? The solar imagery, Mithra was closely linked. The solar imagery, number 3, Mithra was closely linked to the sun and was often depicted with a sun ray halo or wearing a Phrygian cap, a symbol associated with his identity as the solar deity. So when they talk about the Phrygian cap, they're talking about the pill-down cap, the same cap that Santa Claus wear. And that cap was the symbol of high sorcery and magic. Those that wore this cap were people of high illuminating knowledge that dealt with sorcery and magic. You understand? It was called the pill-down cap, the same cap that Santa Claus wear and his elves. And notice that those elves of Santa Claus have magical powers. Santa Claus have magical powers. And there's no coincidence that the word Santa Claus and Saturn is the same thing, and Satan is the same thing. You understand? Number 4, the sacred ritual. The followers gathered in the subterranean temple of Mithra, which were designated to look like caves and were lit by torches. It was lit by torches. And so the torch, right, is Lucifer, the torch bearer, the fire, the illuminating one. The illuminating one is the one that knew the high degree knowledge. The high degree knowledge is based on esoteric knowledge, which deals with sorcery and magic and numerology and astrology and cosmology and those natural sciences. You understand? That's what Lucifer really is about. You understand? And the torch bearer, the light, the illuminating one, the one that's enlightened. You understand? Number 5, the ritual meal, a key part of the worship, involved a sacred meal with bread and wine, similar to the Christ practice. You understand? So this is where they get, the Roman Catholic Church get their Eucharist, where they eat the body of Christ and drink the blood of Christ. And Christ being the Son, the blood, and the wafer that they eat being the body. The number 6, the male-only cult. The religion was exclusively for men, and its members were sworn to secrecy. Just like the Masons, they're sworn to secrecy. All these secret societies, you take an oath sworn by secrecy. So it also comes from out of the Roman sun worshiping of Mithra. Right? So let's get back to the Black Pope, which is another paganist sun worshiping organization. Well, we was talking about Ignatius Loyola. I'm gonna read a little bit more. It says Ignatius envisioned the purpose of the Society of Jesus to be a missionary work and teaching, in addition to the vows of chastity, obedience, and poverty of other religions. The order in the church, Loyola instituted a 4th vow for Jesuits of obedience to the Pope to engage in projects ordained by the pontiff. So when we talk about the Society of Jesus, right, the Jesuit order, they take their orders from the Black Pope. But it's also ordained by the White Pope. You understand? The Jesuits was instrumental in leading the Counter-Reformation, right? The Counter-Reformation, also called the Catholic Revival, was the period of Catholic resurgence that was initiated in the response to and as an alternative to or from similar insights as the Protestant Reformation at the time. It was a comprehensive effort arise from the decree of the Council of Trent. As a political historical period, it is frequently dated to have begun with the Council of Trent in 1545 to 1563 and to have ended with the political conclusion of the European Wars of Religion in 1648. Though this is a controversial, however, as a theological historical description, the term may be obsolescent or over-Pacific. The broader term, the Catholic Reformation, also encompasses the reform and movement within the church in the period immediately before the Protestantism or Trent and lasting later. So when we talk about the Catholic Reformation, it's just the reformation of the Catholic Church, and it was based on the Council of Trent, which started in 1545 to 1563. You understand? And to have ended with the political conclusion of the European Wars of Religion. So inside of Europe, there were a whole bunch of wars going on. Religious wars with your Christians, your Jews, and your Muslims, warring and fighting amongst each other. And in the midst of that war, we're going to find out the integration of your crypto Jews and your Roman Catholic Church. You understand? So your Jesuit order opened up the door for your crypto Jews, which were your Sephardic Jews, your black Jews that were in the Iberian Peninsula who got kicked out during the Inquisition. You understand? The Inquisition period was started with Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. They were Spaniards. They were part of the monarch, the royal bloodline, and they were kicking the Jews and the Muslims out of the Iberian Peninsula and converting some of them over to Christianity. So a lot of your crypto Jews and your crypto Muslims converted over into Christianity. And they moved up into powerful seats and position. So this was the bringing of the Jesuits and your crypto Jews during the Inquisition. But we're going to talk about that. So the Counter-Reformation, which is known as the Catholic Revival, was the period of Catholic resurgence that was initiated in response to and as an alternative to or from similar insights as the Protestant Reformation at the time. All right? It was a comprehensive effort arising from the decree of the Council of Trent. So let's go back to the Jesuits, right? Because it says the Jesuits were instrument in leading the Counter-Reformation, right? So now I'm going to finish reading, but I'm going to come back, and I hope y'all stay with me, because we're going to finish off the second installment of the Jews and the Jesuits.